Hi, you're listening to After Dinner Conversations, short stories for long discussions. What that means is we get short stories, we select those short stories, and then we discuss them specifically about the ethics and the morality of the choices the characters and the situations put us in. Why did you do this? What makes you do this? What makes us good people? What's the nature of truth, goodness, all of that sort of stuff. And hopefully we're all better, smarter people for it and learn a little bit about why we think the way we think. So thank you for listening. Hi, and welcome back once again to After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long discussions. I am your co-host Colby, here once again with Ashley.
Hello.
And Jeremy.
Hi.
And Sarah.
Hello.
Hello. And we are, I think this is our last episode of Season 2 podcasts. We might do one more depending on availability, but I think this is our last one for Season 2. Like and subscribe, go to our website, support us on Patreon, all those things. Our story, though, is All My Tomorrows by J. Grace Pennington. And I think Sarah, if she's not being distracted by little ones, is going to do our description.
Yes. So All My Tomorrows is the story of Misha, who is the shopkeeper, I guess, at this place called
By Grace Pennington.
By Grace Pennington. I wasn't looking at that part. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. I appreciate that. So it was written by Grace Pennington. And so Misha is the shopkeeper at this shop of yesterdays. And she describes it as like a giant room filled with filing cabinets. And all of the filing cabinets are the same color, but as they get older, they start to rust. And then you find out that these filing cabinets are full of people's memories. And so everybody's memories are stored in these cabinets, and there's a computer that kind of oversees the operation of collecting these memories and storing these memories and organizing them. And then, so her task is to sit at this desk and wait for customers. And what people do is they come and they trade in a year of their life in order to experience a single day from their memories, to like relive that day and I guess be in the moment, like really experience it if it's really happening. So this gentleman comes and he wants to buy a yesterday. And he says, how much for a yesterday? And she says, 1 year. And he says, well, I only have 200 days left. And so she agrees to take the 200 days in exchange for this one day. So he's essentially giving up the rest of his life to experience this one day, which he describes as his last good day. And yeah, so.
And we get a little bit of a hint of like what happened, that like why he feels. Doesn't he say it was like his last good day because
he found out something
vague.
That he that part was really vague, but he said he learned something he wasn't yet ready to learn, and it caused everybody in his life to eventually be affected by this knowledge that he had, and everybody kind of peeled away, and so it made him incredibly sad, to the point where when she went to retrieve the memory, she was overcome with the pain of all of his other memories. So,
and then he was, I think, recently divorced as well. You get the impression, or his wife left him, or something like that.
His wife told him to go away.
Oh, that's right. To go away and never come back. That's right.
To go away and never come back. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This story made me really sad. It
really
made me
liked
really
it.
sad.
I really liked the story.
Okay, what did you really like about it, Ashley?
I think it's really amazing how I think the author did a phenomenal job describing memories. She's like, oh, this one has rainbows coming out of it, and they're my favorite because it's all the memories together. And this one smells like freshly cut grass, and green is happy, and blue is this, and yellow is that. Just the way that she kind of describes it all. Granted, it's like a family business. She is 16. She's working there. But I just think it's really cool on how from the eye of someone so young and innocent and, barely has anything in her filing cabinet drawer, just how she describes all the memories. I think that's just really cool. I thought it was really well written, and just from I mean, if it was like an old grouchy guy who owns the store, it'd be something different. But because it's this young girl that's running the store this particular day. I just found it really, really
and she's
whimsical.
She's really, really like in love with the whole atmosphere of the store.
It's like you get the feeling of somebody who works at a bookstore and just really likes the old books is kind of the impression that I got from it.
Yep.
Now keep in mind, she also lives in a bubble because the majority of people that come probably aren't asking to relive a bad memory. Most of them are asking to relive a positive memory. But it's nice that she gets to experience that.
She experiences a little bit of bad too, because she says sometimes you walk by a cabinet and you get a little bit of anger.
Yeah.
But that anger is mixed with the smell of roast beef and
I like that the memories leaked out of the drawers.
too.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
You can imagine like walking by like a old school filing cabinet or something, and like sort of like colors dripping out of it or like floating out of it, like as sort of magical looking stuff. I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Like dust in a sunbeam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great example. Sarah, what did you like about it? Is this one you liked a lot as well?
Oh, I liked all of the description, right down to the color of the filing cabinets and the way they deteriorate as somebody gets old, and how she understands that when a maroon cabinet is taken away, it means somebody somewhere has lost a child, and how that made her sad. And when new drawers arrive, ready to have a name put on them, and I liked how just in love with her job she was, and how excited she was to do it.
As a black cat walks past.
Yeah.
And I'd like to talking about this as a job before we delve into the whole thing about it. I'd like to bring up a different aspect of it. So this was a once thriving business, and now it's like desolate. No one hardly ever comes, maybe once a week or once a day, whereas before they mentioned it was a hopping business. People were coming and going. So it made me wonder two things. Like, why did they go down in business? And that made me think that with technology and everything, maybe people are now tracking their everyday life. Remember back in the day, like before you had video recorders, like the only memories you have are the ones that are in your brain. But now that we have videos and cameras and photos, I mean, you can track so much more of your day, and you can, quote unquote, somewhat relive it via video and photos more readily and more regularly than there were back in the day. I mean, my mom only busted out the video camera or the camera if it was a special event. Every day someone's taking a picture or something. So I'm thinking either
there's no reason to go pay anymore.
There's no reason, or people are having a different way of retracting their memories anyway. That was my own theory that kind of came up. I know it's a totally off tangent, but that's really delved into this story.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. I feel like if maybe they had mentioned some of those things, like this is why nobody's visiting here anymore, is, for something else.
There are other ways to do it that are good enough.
And then a totally side thing, I want to know, how do the people know how many days they have left?
Yeah, that was never explained. I thought that was really interesting.
Because the guy knows he has 200. I think that would make it a lot easier for us to determine, if I knew I had a million days left, well, I would be more apt to, give away 365 of them, in a weird way. So that'd be interesting to know how people know how many days they have left.
It also kind of begs the question, like, what are they doing with these days? Are they a currency of some sort?
Yeah.
So they're valuable to the people.
Yeah, it's like that Justin Timberlake movie.
Again.
Yeah, Out of Time or whatever it was.
Right. You trade time for coffee or time for
everything. Yeah.
Everything. So anyway, those were two side tangents that I really was like, oh, I want to know more. And I think it's just because it was so well written as a whimsical way. I was like, I just want to know more about it. I wanted to follow her day. I wanted to know, does she think, this memory, is this going to be a green one that goes into my memories folder? I don't know.
Okay, so let me ask one of our questions here. There's a bunch you could get into, and I don't know, I just really, I liked the story. I just was it made me about cry.
Now, why was that? Why did it make you want to cry? We all talked about how we liked it.
Because the idea that you would be so sure that the next 365 days you were going to have, none of them were going to be as good as the day you were thinking of. Like, that is a certain kind of morbidness that's like I am positive that the next year is not going to be as good as that one day I had 7 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago. You've got to be really sure that like your life sucks. And there's a level of hopelessness with that. And in the case of this guy, I understand why that might be, but that's a really strong level of hopelessness, which I thought. And then I thought the other thing that made it sad is knowing that the ability to relive a day was even an option, I think affects your ability to have better new days, right? Because it's like the person who like re-looks over old Facebook videos or re-looks over old, home video movies or looks through pictures or whatever. Like, if you amplify that so many more times, like I think it gives someone the ability to dwell in a way that's probably not healthy.
So I'm actually flipping that. Say you have someone who's like super depressed and thinking this is the end of their life. If they could go back and relive a day when they were happy to get a glimmer of, oh no, this is when I felt different.
Might
Maybe
help you.
It could give them a piece of hope.
Yeah, that's true. It might.
Could be therapeutic in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
So the French have a term for this. It's called the spirit of the stare. It's kind of the idea that at the end of the dinner party and you're on your way out of someone's house, and that is the time when you suddenly think, this is what I should have said to this, particularly good joke that I could have said. It's this dwelling on the past idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a cat in
that's
my lap.
fair. Yeah, there's a cat in your lap. That's good. I think it's just it was it just made me terribly sad that this cat really wants to play with you.
Keep talking so people can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Kitty.
I don't know. Like, I understand why the 16-year-old girl likes people to relive memories, because she's probably only had good memories her whole life. She lives in an asteroid or whatever with her family, and life isn't that hard. She walks by and feels all of these good memories, and she doesn't understand that those good memories can be horribly cruel as well. If you are currently not having a good experience, that's all. She only sees them for what they are, as opposed to how people view them compared to where they now are.
Yeah, say they're visiting someone
She's
that's
seen
passed away, and it's like, oh, yeah, even though it was a happy memory, it's still a sad one for the person because they know that now that grandpa's passed away or whatnot.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the trade? Does $365 for one seem about the right sale price? Or do you think that you would pay more or pay less? Only pay less?
It's kind of an arbitrary, just this many days
is.
for. So, it probably depends on what kind of.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you then, Jeremy.
Okay.
Is assuming this technology was by some miracle available, what is the number of days at the end of your life you would give up to relive one day of your choosing that's happened already? Like, would you do it for 5 days, 10 days, 100 days?
Is there even a day that you would want to relive? That's the more important question.
Yeah.
Because how much you're willing to pay depends on what you're going to get, what you value.
I honestly don't think
yeah.
that there's any. I don't think there's any amount of days that I would give up to go and relive any particular memory.
Not even for 5 days at the end of your life in order to re-experience the first day that you went to fair.
It could be something like spending time or spending a day with somebody who's passed away.
Like a grandma.
I feel like that would be the exception.
That just occurred to me right now that
Well, that's one of our questions.
there are
too.
circumstances in which I would want to go back and relive.
So this was my other thing, because Colby was all down in the dumps about after reading the story, and I was like, what if you could go back or relive a memory where it was a day when the guy told you where the $5 million was hid and you forgot about it? And you're like, oh man, if I could go back to that day so I could remember where the location is. I'm like, would you do it? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. And,
No
and
hesitation.
right.
Money's
Honestly,
money.
that's a very realistic scenario for Colby.
It is. It very much is. I forget so
that's
many
excellent.
things.
Okay, so there you go. So we first mentioned, what is there a memory that you would go back to, and then what would the cost be? So say that is an actual real memory. How many days would you be willing to give up?
I'd give up a year for $10 million.
You give up a year? What if it was 2 years
Yeah, I
for
don't know.
10 million?
I think that's the other interesting thing, right? Is we all talked about we wouldn't give up, or I think most of us are saying we wouldn't give up time for a happy memory. But maybe there's another kind of memory. That's one of the questions here too. Is there another kind of memory that would cause you to do it? Whether it would be to get to spend time with a loved one who'd passed. One of the things that I thought was, and I wouldn't do it, but I could see someone doing it, was wanting to go back and relive a day where you think you made a mistake. That was like a big mistake in your life, just so you could see what really happened without sort of the lens of sort of memory alteration, right? Like if you get a
Right.
more genuine view of that moment and be like, oh, that's what really happened, as opposed to what I remember or what it felt like or what I thought happened, that it might be a way to give yourself some forgiveness as well.
I'm wondering if in this scenario where you're reliving the day, like how aware you are, because it's obvious that you can't change anything or behave any
Right.
differently than you did that day. So
And is it a third-person view? You're really seeing your own activities from the outside as well, which would give you a different perspective. Like, oh man, I really was a jerk.
Right, like the It's a Wonderful Life sort of
from
thing.
over
where you're like,
here.
right, where you're just sort of like looking at, or do you just feel it, right? Do you just have the emotion of what that day felt like? And it doesn't say, but I assumed it was sort of a third party watching, or maybe a first party perspective where you're like in a body, like the way it would be in a video game, where you're in a body but you can't change the actions or the words.
What if it was neither one of those? What if you were literally reliving the day, and after you relive the memory, you still have only the same memory of that day? Because remember, your brain can only grab so much information to store. And so you relive the day as it is, but once that day's over and you're back to reality, you still only remember it as it was.
And you don't even remember what happened for that day. You don't.
You just only remember those little snippets
then it
that
totally
you knew
wouldn't even be worth
beforehand.
it.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be
I
worth
feel
it
like
at
you would have to remember it as if it happened yesterday.
Right.
Like this was yesterday.
Like as soon as you woke up, you could start taking notes about everything that happened because you'd remember it well
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it
Where's
correct?
that $10 million?
So is there any example for any of us where we would give up a year to relive a day? Whether it's a good day, a dead grandma, checking out an old mistake.
where's this year coming from? Is it, do you suppose
The end
it's
of your
coming off
life.
the
Off
very
the
end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably.
Do we know how many years we have left, like this guy did?
I think that would be you would want to know that.
You don't want to wake up and find out that, like, oh, by the way,
You have one day
you're
left.
going to get hit by a car in 6 months.
What I mentioned, I use the other analogy, like say this guy or you're like dying, like you have 1 year left of nothing but straight chemo, like you are stage 5, you are going to die. It is going to be a year of torment. There is going to be no good days. Like there may be a few sprinkled in there. Would you use that year of suffering to relive one good day?
Yeah, that's absolutely a reasonable scenario.
So we mentioned if you for sure know there's going to be nothing good with 365 days, or for money purposes. Wow, we're good.
Right?
Yeah, that Lost Dutchman, he'd be totally down for that. All right, so Sarah, is there any scenario where you would make this trade?
Oof. I'll just say yes. If it was like I knew I was going to live to be 107
Yeah.
and I had the opportunity to go and be with my mother again.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I would live to 106 instead.
And just have that happen. Ashley, for you?
I mean, that's a really extreme.
No, for sure. But you're saying
Example, but-
it is possible that you would do this
It's
under the right
possible, yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
I think I'm same.
Same, Jeremy? Same?
Yeah, definitely. There are scenarios.
So what about, do you think having a service like this is a cruelness or a kindness to humanity? Having this even be an option?
I think it's both. Because you could have someone that would want to relive like their dead son, and so they keep going back and back and
Right.
back and back to be with someone who's passed away and retracting from their existing life just because they can't deal with it. Or you can use it as therapeutic purposes if used correctly. You could use it as like a benefit of the future, like, oh, I forgot where the $10 million was. Yeah, I think it could go both ways, personally.
Jeremy, is
Yeah,
that a
it's
thinking face?
There's there's a TV show or a movie that does this. Maniac with
What's the premise of the show? That might be just easier for people who haven't seen it.
well, basically where you could go and relive specific memories.
Mhm. And is there a cost
yeah,
for it on the show?
Probably it was it's like they're misusing this drug to as like a therapy. It should be used as a therapy.
Gotcha. It's being used as just a party drug
right.
or whatever.
Well, right, to go back and relive the same memories over and over.
Yeah.
In that particular scenario.
So I will take a divergent view on this one than you three. I actually think it would be, maybe it's because I just took this story as so sad. I think it would be a cruelness to even have this service be available, because I feel like if you knew it was an option, like a genuine, real option, you would always wonder you would always be weighing your future against your past your entire life, right? Like you would go through life wondering like, well, no, I like that day better. No, I like that day better. Like the fact that it's even possible, I think, gives rise to the kinds of doubts that are unhealthy.
That's a valid point.
Well, I was just kind of thinking about the idea that we video everything and we take pictures of everything now. And one of the things that I really enjoy doing is looking through past pictures. And there's just so many of them. Like I could spend an hour going through and looking at pictures of my kids from their first year, you know?
Yeah.
And kind of like enjoying those memories. But there's a limit to spending time on that when it's no longer healthy.
Sure.
So
Yes,
it is
definitely.
kind of possible that without actually going back and reliving a day, this is something that we can do to ourselves that gets kind of sketchy at a certain point. So maybe, I don't know, I guess I'm agreeing with you a little bit on this, Colby. Like if it was this thing where we could actually go back and relive those things, that's probably why it needs to be such a heavy cost, a high price.
Yeah. Well, you see, I mean, like I've read research about how social media makes breakups harder now, right? Because you see the sort of fake life that your ex puts online. What about them, you know, I'm at the beach, I'm having a party or
let's
whatever.
be honest. Like most of the memories that you're going to post with ex-boyfriend, like at the time, were all nothing but happy memories. So when those memories pop up on Facebook, you're seeing nothing but the happy memories because those are the only ones that you captured.
Right, and it's restructuring.
Right.
What,
Well,
And you're like, oh, that was such a great
Right.
trip. Oh, you're forgetting how he was a jerk. Oh, yeah, because we didn't catch
right. Well,
that on
and now they're
camera.
tainted. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, I think also too, for the perfectionist people, they would look at these memories and be like, remember that first birthday? That was a great first birthday. Okay, now we have to make the second birthday even better.
Hi, this is Colby, and you are listening to After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long discussions. But you already knew that, didn't you? If you'd like to support what we do at After Dinner Conversation, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/After Dinner Conversation. That's right, for as little as $5 a month, you can support thoughtful conversations like the one you're listening to. And as an added incentive for being a Patreon supporter, you'll You'll get early access to new short stories and ad-free podcasts, meaning you'll never have to listen to this blurb again. At higher levels of support, you'll be able to vote on which short stories become podcast discussions, and you'll even be able to submit questions for us to discuss during these podcasts. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being the kind of person that supports thoughtful discussion.
Oh, I think also too, for the perfectionist people, they would look at these memories and be like, remember that first birthday? That was a great first birthday. Okay, now we have to make the second birthday even better. Like, that would be also another, kind of a leveling up of a way that may also be detrimental, possibly. You're trying to up the next memory. Oh, last summer wasn't great enough. I need to make it even better.
Yeah.
Oh, that summer 2 years ago was great. Oh, we should do that again and make it even more magical.
I think there's a reason memories fade, and I think it's a good reason.
So should people not be having, Facebook doing that? Remember, this happened 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't have that, someone wouldn't know it was our anniversary.
We wouldn't. I've put it in.
That came out of nowhere.
I put it in Google Calendar. I get a reminder every year now.
No, after I told you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But for real, should we not have those pop-ups? Because it's involuntary. Well,
I agree. I don't think we should.
You can set it to not do it on Facebook, but it happens.
Yeah.
It's like, remember 1 year ago this happened.
I don't know,
5
Colby.
years
That's a
ago.
little extreme to just be like, nope, I don't even want to see it in Facebook memories, because it's like, I think that in my Facebook memories, some of the things that pop up that happened a year ago or 2 years ago, some of them are a little painful.
Yeah.
Because things didn't exactly work out the way
Sure.
that I had wanted or intended or thought they were going to. So things
Yeah.
kind of changed. But I don't think that's a bad exercise. I think that in the process of remembering those things, you learn a lot. And so you're also remembering what you learned from that situation.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the good ones that come up, I think that solidifies your connection to the people that you shared those memories with.
Because you remember that, this was a really fun time we had together.
Yeah, and you share a bond with the people who shared that memory with you. And then when you go back and talk about it, you're kind of solidifying that bond with other people a little bit more.
Yeah,
but
that's
I think
true.
that there's a limit, there's definitely a limit.
Well, let's be honest. The reason why you post pictures with you with your big goofy glasses and on rollerblades is to keep you humble, babe. Sorry, I'm picking on him because he's kind of down in the dumps with
I'm
this
sad.
story.
This story makes me really sad.
So I'll post pictures of me in brake shoes
and
and glasses.
I will also say, I'm going to take a bet here. I bet if we talked to the author, I'm pulling up his name again, or her name, Grace Pennington. Yeah, her name, Grace Pennington. I bet Grace Pennington is a person who's seen some stuff, right? Who has some stuff she doesn't want to remember, or that she does want to remember. I don't think it wouldn't even occur to me to write this story, because I think in order for it to occur to you, have written this story, it has to occur to you that you've wanted this. And I could be totally wrong. If I'm mischaracterizing Grace, I apologize. But
I think she could have just been extrapolating from.
Maybe she just
from Facebook memory thing that pops up.
But I just feel like I wouldn't even want to have this idea of a story have occurred to me. That's how strongly I feel about this story.
Okay.
Yeah. That you don't like dwelling on painful memories, I think is what this is saying.
Well, and not just painful. I mean, originally the thought was painful, but I wouldn't want to dwell on any memories because, I feel like you never want to be the person as an adult who references something that happened in high school like it was a good day, right? If you tell me about how you scored 3 touchdowns in a single game, you have told me
one more time,
right?
Yes.
You have told me everything about your framework that I need to know. What you have told me is you believe your best days are behind you, and I never want to interact with. I never want to be a person. Maybe it's okay. It's okay to interact with him. I never want to be a person who thinks that their best day already happened, because that's a really that it stifles innovation. It stifles work. It stifles hope. I think it ultimately causes you to both mentally but also physically die, right? Like the biggest killer of people is retirement in my mind. Like as soon as you think like I've done everything I was meant to do, oh, you about to die. Right? And
Right.
so I think if you look at somebody like, and I don't know anything about him, but if you look at somebody like Jimmy Carter, who's like 93 years old, has had a heart attack, and is still building
Still
Habitat
building
for
houses.
He's still building
Yeah.
houses, right? Because he still believes there's one more house that has to be built. Like, and realistically, he could be like, hey, I was the president of the United States. Like I've done it. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm just going to keep
I'm
telling
gonna go
stories.
paint now.
Yeah, I'm going to keep, exactly. I'm going to keep telling stories about how I was president of the United States, right? Because that's the most valuable story I have. I think that's not healthy. Maybe it's just something that I think about a lot, but
So the question is, the person, their ability to relive a past day, you think directly indicates that that person has no hope for the future, and that's what bothers you.
I think if it occurs to you that you would even want to relive a past day for some other reason than finding like $1 million, the fact that it even occurs to you makes you think your best day already happened, which makes you quit trying to have a new best day.
That makes me think that you've never loved someone who's passed away.
That's true. I haven't. I am the rarest person on earth that I am 46 years old, and I don't know a single person that I care about that died. Not a single one. It is mathematically impossible that it could have happened by this point in my life. And like when I was 30, it occurred to me that I was the only person I know who didn't have a loved one pass. But all of my grandparents were like 3 out of 4 of my grandparents were dead when I was a little kid. And then my fourth one, I never knew. And so like I literally have no one that I miss because they died. And maybe that's why I feel this way.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be Al Bundy. That's all.
Hmm.
In the sense of like
and
reliving.
That's right, and I think that's a trope for a reason. That kind of character.
What do you mean, Al Bundy? The one who
yeah,
talks about like
know,
his scoring 3 touchdowns in a game.
Right. It's a trope. It's a character that's used more,
because it
frequently
exists.
in
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't mean to end the conversation. If you guys got other things that you found interesting about the story, pipe in. This is like one of the few stories where I'm just like, nope, done. Like I got nothing.
I think
I'm
you
like,
could.
nope.
This particular man was looking for his last good day because he knew he was nearing the end of his life, and he was really convinced that he had no other good days to create. So I totally see where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
But I think another person who knows they have a lot of years left, and they might go back. They just might take that chance, not because they feel like it was their last good day, but because there's something unfinished or something that needs to be revisited or something that they really want to spend
Something that they miss.
Yeah.
Someone
It
that
doesn't
they miss.
it doesn't always have to be a sad situation where you really
Yeah.
feel you're doing this because you feel like that was the last time you ever had a good day.
What if it's used, so say they are in that situation where they feel like there's nothing good to happen in the future,
Mm-hmm.
but by them reliving that day, it gives them that little bit of hope that, okay, I need to keep going because I've seen what it's like to not be hurt or to not be sick or to not be sad, or I remember when, life was good and I can make it good again.
That's true. And I think if it were done sort of as part of a therapy process with the aid of a therapist, where you like talked about what you wanted out of that day, what you were going to get out of that day, and then you sort of debriefed what you learned from that day, that would be
Measured your
different.
Expectations.
Yeah, but like I'll give you an example, Ashley. And there's no way for me to say it without him knowing I'm talking about him. But like when we went to go visit my friend, the first thing he was like, "Hey, do you want to see my gold medal?" Because he has a gold and a silver medal. At least he might have a couple other ones. And it's like, dude, that was like 25 years ago. Like I get it. Winning a gold medal is a big deal. It was probably the most important, like best day of your life.
And will never happen again.
It'll never happen again. But tell me what happened yesterday. Like, tell me, like, don't tell me what what TV show you're watching. Like, don't tell me about the job that pays well that you don't like. Tell me what you think your next gold medal is you're pursuing. Because if you're not pursuing your next gold medal, then freaking pack it up, man. Your life ended the day you won that medal.
Whoa. Wow. So, just gonna back that up there. So someone's life isn't worth living because they've already achieved their goal and they don't have a future goal. That means they should end it?
We've had this discussion in other podcasts. You guys know how I feel about this.
Why?
Like, I feel like
why isn't he out building houses?
Yeah, like exactly. Like, you don't have to be getting a gold medal. Like, but you have to do something that makes you think, I wish I didn't have to fall asleep yet, because there's so many things I'm interested in and so many things I'm trying to do.
And that's maybe for your timeline, you're really easy to pick up the next thing. Maybe it's going to take him 20, 30, 35, 40 years to find that next thing. You got to be patient with them. That's called being a friend and being supportive.
Oh no, he is my friend, and I like him, and I would go visit him, and I value his friendship. It's not a dig on his friendship, and it's not even a dig on his personality. It's just meant to be an example. Like, I understand why you would do that, right? But it's not meant to be a dig on the person. I just don't. I mean, like, I feel like I've done a few interesting things in my life, but I don't really talk about them, and I don't want to deal with them because it implies that they're the last interesting thing I have to talk about. The most interesting thing I have to talk about should be the thing I'm doing tomorrow that I'm excited about, not the thing I did yesterday.
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of people, when they achieve something, I'm assuming that was a huge accomplishment for them. They haven't fully gotten over that to find the next thing.
Yeah.
And that might take a while for more people than others.
I just don't want anything. So I feel like I wish you guys would take up more of this conversation. I
don't know. Do you feel like for you guys, have you guys ever achieved something so great and then struggled to find the next thing, or has that never been a struggle for you guys?
No, no.
Yeah, it's not in.
I've done some pretty awesome stuff,
so.
But it doesn't. I don't think I ever struggled to find something else to focus on or a new goal to set. Does that make sense? I don't think that's ever been a struggle for
there's
me.
nothing I've
like,
ever
I can't
done.
identify with that. I do love talking about memories, though.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
I don't want. So, like, I got a law degree, right? The day after I got my law degree, like, you could just burn that piece of paper and I could never mention it again. Like, the accomplishment was in the day I got it. Not, I don't, like, it means nothing to me now because it's something that I did, not something that I'm doing. Like, I want the next piece. I don't know.
No, I get that.
I don't know.
You know,
yeah.
So, do you think that there was significance in the age of the girl? That was like, she was so innocent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in that moment where she's searching through his filing cabinet looking for that one memory, and she's experiencing all of his pain, that's a lot for a 16-year-old girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a 16-year-old.
Yeah. And I think
found that to be really significant.
And I think your point is spot on. So I think it's really interesting and a really great literary choice to have the 16-year-old be working there, because
alone.
Because at 16, you really haven't done anything you're likely to dwell on much. I mean, maybe you have, but certainly not if you live on an asteroid with your family. And so in her mind, she sees everything in the most two-dimensional way, right? Like, she smells fresh cut grass. She gets the happiness of a birthday party, whatever. And she doesn't get that in 25 years, all of the other stuff that comes with that memory. I don't know.
She's getting it out of context.
We're all
she doesn't
depressed
understand.
now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to depress you all. She's getting it right. She's getting out of context. She's getting it in the purest form that it exists, as the relational form that it exists. Maybe that's a better way to phrase it.
Yeah.
No, you can't be upset with her. I mean, she is sharing something that is cheerful. Like, you can't blame her for being excited to give someone a happy memory.
For sure.
Like, what if the person was coming for, like, a negative memory? Like, that would be like, oh, I would feel bad about that. But no one really comes for a negative one.
You know, the way I would feel different about the story is if the story was on your deathbed, like moments before you died, like the memory fairy came down and was like, before you die, you're going to get to relive one day of your life. What day would you like? And that way you're not trading, and there's no sort of ability to ask, and there's no ability to sort of expect or wait or reflect, or like it's like it happens automatically, it happens without your choice, and you get to pick, and you only get to do it once. Then I could see it being like a useful, fun thing.
What if you go back and you relive a memory and you're like, wow, I thought it was more special than it was.
Yeah.
It really wasn't.
And I think that would be a really
Because
useful
that
part
the
of
guy,
sad.
the football guy who keeps reliving the same memory, what if he goes back and relives it and is like, wow, that was really kind of lame.
Right.
And it's
Maybe that
not
would-
how he has retrained his memory of it.
Yeah.
It's not as spectacular as
That could be a hard
as-
take.
yeah.
Now that goes back to memory, like how memories get imprinted in the brain. For your friend who achieved the ultimate, like a gold medal, how many times do you think he had to retell that story to someone?
He gets paid
And
to
then-
retell that story
And then,
as a speaker.
so you've taken all these memories, you basically part them down to nothing but the good ones, because only people like to hear about good stuff. And now you've funneled this memory so many times that builds in the neural pathways that kind of like retelling of it to yourself becomes the truth,
yeah.
that you kind of forget about all the negative.
Yeah.
And so for your friend, that is probably also become just an automatic response when someone asks about them. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what I've been trained that people are interested in me for.
Yeah, I
So
think
you
that's true.
can't, I mean, it's sad that he hasn't found something new, but that's
And maybe-
also what he's been programmed to
Right,
do.
you're right. You're absolutely right. And maybe he has found new things, but that's not what anyone wants to hear about. That's totally possible. And that maybe I'm selling him short in that sense. I don't know.
How do you think Misha was affected by? I mean, she was clearly affected by it because of the way the author describes her sitting in the chair and just sitting there and ignoring the cabinets for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And then she turns and she locks. Do you think she ever comes back? That was one thing I asked
Well, that didn't even
myself
occur to me.
when I
That's a great
finished the
question.
story, because she says she gave the shop one last look and then she she goes out the door and locks it behind her.
How about this? Does she feel guilty for taking that man's life? Because she literally traded his last days. And she's like, here's your death sentence. Here's your
Yeah.
death.
And it was like she was almost happy to be doing it for him.
Well, she
I don't
felt
know.
like she was helping him or like providing a service, right? Yeah, I didn't even think about
Right.
the fact that may have affected her so profoundly that it affects her view of what she does. But I can totally
At the
see why that
beginning
would
of
be
the
the
story,
case.
she's so fascinated with the cabinets, and before he arrives, she's like, maybe I could just explore a little bit
Yeah.
and wander through the cabinets instead of sitting here at this terminal.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be one thing if it was if a person comes in and I have 2 years left here, just take one. But here comes her customer who was like, take everything, take the end of my days. Like, you're like, you know what this means, man? This means you're gonna die. It starts,
Definitely
it
means you've got to
starts-
sign the waiver.
It starts in 24
Yeah.
hours and then you're done. Like, okay, like I don't know if I would feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, okay, here you go. Like, here's the pill
Yeah.
that's going to kill you.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
And she breaks all of the rules because she
Yeah.
broke a
Yeah.
rule to be able to give him
Right.
the memory. She broke all the rules for him, too.
Oh, you know what? I bet that's probably why you can't change the price. Like one of the rules is you can't change the price. And I bet that's partially one of the reasons why, right? Is because you don't want somebody to pay with everything they have left that doesn't equal to 365.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, what if this guy, like, you know, was low on gas and his car broke down? He was planning on arriving at 365, but instead he
Just
landed at
you're-
220.
Yeah, that's a
You
long.
know, you guys,
it's
a
the
long journey
It's the
for
worst
him.
AAA ever.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Do you guys have anything else you want to add? I'm sorry, I totally bummed you guys out on this one. This is the
It's okay.
Maybe we have to do. Maybe we'll do one more just so this isn't our one that we end on. But all Okay, so you've been
No,
listening.
it was. I think
yeah.
I think Ashley and I were probably taking it a little bit too lightly. So thanks for bringing us back down to
Yeah.
earth, Colby.
I'm so sorry. Like I hate to be the downer on this one. I just and because it's so beautifully written, and I think that's the thing, right? Is it feels like it feels very much like a real world you stepped into, and this girl's mind and it's just it's so well written that it pulls you in with its sort of visuals and its narration but the underlying concept is just like it's
It's a gut hit.
yeah,
It's a
Grace
gut
Pennington.
bomb.
I don't want to have dinner with you because I'm afraid.
Jeez, Colby.
I don't.
God, I don't want to have dinner with you right now.
I mean, she's either got some stuff going on, or she's the most creative human being ever, or she.
We're gonna go with creative. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So, do you think this stemmed from how many elderly people?
Maybe she works at hospice. Maybe that's it.
How many
I'll go with
elderly
that.
people? You go to a nursing home. How many of them say, "Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a great"? No, they're all talking about what they did in the past.
Yeah, like crocheting. That's the problem. Quit crocheting and go like build a house.
Oh my
don't-
gosh,
oh my
Colby,
gosh.
stop. Just stop. Just.
You're such a Colby.
You have,
I'm such a Colby.
you have to
You're
stop.
not even You need to go hang out with some more elderly people and ask them why they
Oh,
are
yeah.
doing crazy stuff. Then it'll make sense. You need to get some elderly people in your life.
So on that cheery note, we have now probably ended season 2 of our podcast of After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long, depressing ass discussions. God, we really have to do one more just so we don't end on this one. If you want to submit a story, you can submit it by emailing it to us on our website. If you want to read stories, you can go to our website for that.
Website is
Yeah.
afterdinnerconversation.com.
Yep. Also, we have a newsletter you can sign up for, and you'll get 2 free short stories emailed to you every other week. So you can read them for free before you don't have to buy them if you don't want to buy them, or you can go on Amazon and buy them. But like Ashley said, just go to the website. Like there's a million jump off points from there. And thank you for joining us and supporting us on Patreon if you're a Patreon subscriber.
Yay.
Yay. All right, I'm going to go hang myself now. That was
No,
super
don't leave people hanging. Ha ha. No, he's going to be alive. He's going to be fine.
Bye.
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 If you've enjoyed listening to this, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. You know, the vast majority of people haven't liked and subscribed, which means maybe it shows up in your algorithm, maybe it doesn't. So don't leave that to chance. Just go ahead and hit that button, and we'd sure appreciate that. And that way we can keep doing what we're doing, and you're not left to the whims of some algorithm. Thanks.